Welcome to the Golden State Media Concepts Sex Podcast, a show that examines all aspects of sexuality, from physical to emotional to spiritual. Join our hosts as they discuss age-old questions, common misconceptions, and the latest topics surrounding sex. They'll tackle topics about sexuality from the complicated to the hilarious and everything in between. GSMC Sex Podcast is your show for all of your questions about sex, even some you might not have thought of yet.
Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Sex Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Andra, with a topic about sex. It's from the point of view of an older woman. Hello out there. How are we doing? Getting ready for that Christmas season amidst a pandemic, but I think we are doing well. Hope everybody gets what they want for Christmas, especially sex related. So, you had to have Santa get some too. Every day we are getting up, getting ready, going to work, not going to work, going to school, not going to school, or whatever it is that you do during your daily life and daily routine. We come across these sexual innuendos, or just things that we see that our minds translate into sex. Doesn't mean you're horny, just means, every so often our minds just slip into the gutter. But that is okay. That shows you're human. And if you didn't do that, I'm assured you're wondering why. It is okay. Everyday things we are looking at become a sexual thing. It might just be for that brief moment. Who's to say? But it comes in anything, any sexual innuendo, which is our topic for the day. Like unexpected cartoons. Now we think of Walt Disney cartoons. We all remember them when we were young. We brought them to our children when we, as we grew older and had our own families and had children. And then we, they watch Walt Disney. You go to Walt Disneyland, Walt Disney World, whichever one. You are in their clutches of fantasy. Well, did you really ever look at cartoons in general? Not only, Walt Disney cartoons, but all of the cartoons out there. I think Animaniacs is probably the one that is easier for everybody to catch them, but all cartoons have some sort of sexual undertone. Could have something for the adults as well as the children. So there is where we are talking today. That sexual innuendo, which is usually a seemingly innocent comment that is used in a casual conversation. Although whoever is stating it wants to, put out there those sexual undertones and to see who can get it and who can't and can remember or hear or whatever. Now, obviously, seemingly everyday fruit, melons, sexual undertone. Watermelons to you, they are women's breasts, boobs, tits, whatever you want to call them. And usually the puns, we see it in all the adult stuff. I mean, come on. 007, pussy. You know, one movie named it. You know, come on, it's in there. It just means these everyday words have double meanings. That is all. But to catch them is, are you aware? Are you paying attention? For the most part, everybody is. We are not going to say that to our children, are we? That, oh, look, Bambi wants sex. You'll crush them. They don't even know what it is. But we do as adults. Very, very harmless. We grew up with this. We didn't even think about it until it was brought up. But let's start off our cartoon sexual innuendos. And we are going to start with the Disney line. There are so many, and this is a known fact. When they do the Disney movies, if you're paying attention close enough, they will take a small piece from another one of their cartoons and put that into the next cartoon that they make. So why would you think that there would not be any sexual undertones in Disney movies? Now let's take a Bambi. Bambi is our favorite. We all cry when his mom dies. But, you know, these movies are made for children. But it seems as though like those producers wanted to catch the eye and, that sexual allure of the parent or the babysitter with their mind. In there you have your Toy Story that has them, Frozen, Aladdin, Ratatouille. So let's get to pleasures for grown-ups in children's cartoons. Now, we have Mrs. Potato Head. Okay? And with Mrs. Potato Head, we had the scene when Villain Lotso removes Mrs. Potato Head's lips from her body to stop her talking. Then Mr. Potato Head yells, "Hey, nobody takes my wife's mouth except me." Like a lovely Aladdin. Now, during Aladdin and Jasmine's wedding, there is an earthquake. It's prompting the genie to quip, where he says, "I thought the earth wasn't supposed to move until the honeymoon." Come on. Even the genie is giving Aladdin ideas to get out there and get his groove on with Jasmine. Now moving along to Frozen. Now in Frozen, when Anna first teams up with Kristoff, he quizzes her about her fiancé Hans, and even asks her about how big his feet are. Come on, that is the oldest sexual innuendo or measurement of a man's penis. If his feet are big, his penis is as well. Anna insists during the scene, however, that shoe size does not matter. So what's the other saying there? It's not the size that matters, it's the way you use it. And that is for the men. They're here. Now watch, I'm going to have you going back and looking at these movies again and wondering now if you really want to let your kids watch them. But hey, they are for our enjoyment as much as theirs. They get the fun out of it and the whimsical portion, while we'll get the sexual and everything else out of it. Moving on along to Hercules. Now we all know Hercules, the mythological god. Zeus and all of them up there. Aphrodite. Who, she's sexual all the way. Gotta have one up there. But in Hercules, when the horseshoe hits the river guardian, when Hercules is going to, he sees Meg for the first time. And she's, being basically tortured by the river god. The river guardian in his head, and then he gets a huge lump, quote unquote. He inexplicably, boy, can I get the tongue woven here? He grows a penis-shaped bump and matching testicle eyebrows. So, sexual innuendo. And that is Hercules. Although, you gotta look at the way they're drawing these women in these cartoons as well. Very voluptuous. Very, very, sexually alluring. And, come on. How many of even the ones that they draw to be looking not in that way, they still give some portion of it where the cartoon women actually are sexually alluring, because not everybody likes that 36, 24, 36. You might want a little bit more cushion for the pushing, a little more rump in the sack. You know what I mean? So they have to appease to all types and kinds. Now, Cars, the movie's Cars, all for you speed demons out there. Lightning McQueen gets flashed by two enthusiastic fans who beam their headlights at him. Now, come on. Beaming headlights. What does that point to? Women's breasts. You refer to them as headlights. Those flashing headlights. Ratatouille, which oddly enough seems extremely innocent, but I'm assured it is not. And by this I mean, when Chef Linguini, it's making me hungry too, tells colleague Colette that a rat helped him cook in the kitchen, he says, I have this tiny, little, and then prompting her to look at his crotch. That is better left for the bedroom. Let the woman be a little bit exploratory and find out for herself. A Bug's Life. Come on, this is one of the, this movie is getting kind of old. But it is still a loved movie. And what do? We go and buy these movies so that we have them for ourselves to watch anytime we want with the children. Yeah, I'm telling you. Now, in A Bug's Life, a pickup line from a fly to a ladybug is, hey cutie, want to pollinate with a real bug? Tell me that wasn't blatantly you want to get laid. Come on. You want to have sex? 101 Dalmatians, which is not a cartoon, by the way. It is a cartoon. Okay, let's fix that. It is a cartoon, but it was adapted and played out real life movie. Cruella de Vil and all that good stuff with Glenn Close. And in 101 Dalmatians, one of Cruella's sidekicks, Horace, states, the sight of all these deceased creatures gives me a shrinky winky. So basically, he was hard, had an erection, and then when he saw it, beep, boop, he lost it. The Little Mermaid. I'm sure there's a gazillion of them in this. We're thinking like these mystical creatures under the water, and we want to go and see if they're real. And still today, we want to find out. And then The Little Mermaid, one of the lines in the classic song, Under the Sea, is, darling, it's better down where it's wetter. Giving that little sexual innuendo into the woman's vagina and how wet a woman gets. So, hey, I didn't write these lines. They are in our everyday cartoons that we let our kids watch. And on that note, we are going to take our first break in the show. And when we come back, we will continue on with our sexual undertones, innuendos that are in everyday things, in cartoons and all of that stuff, which is what we let our kids watch. But really, it's made for us, and we probably never really sat back and thought about it until now. When I'm talking about it, now you're going to go back and have a whole different view. But with that, please go get a snack, get a drink, come back, get relaxed, and I will meet you back here for more Sex Talk with Andra.
Still on the search of that one true love? On the limbo in this crazy world of dating, marriage, relationships? Well, listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Relationship Podcast, your one-stop podcast for everything about relationships.
Thank you for tuning in to the GSMC Sex Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Andra, where the topic about sex is from the point of view of an older woman. Hello, and welcome back to our second portion of the show, where we are discussing sexual innuendos and our connotations in our everyday cartoons that are just right there in front of us. We let our kids watch them, and we are going to continue with this. Now, be honest to yourself, how many of you went out after this first segment of the show and took out one of your Disney movies? Because we all have them. So it's alright, that's what it's all about. Kids aren't around, or you don't have kids. Who's to say? Pull out that cartoon, that Disney cartoon, and go to work. But for me, I am going to continue on with our sexual innuendos, with our Disney cartoons, and we are on Mulan. Now, Mulan has just been turned into a real-life action movie. So do go out and see it. A little different from the cartoon. But when Mushu is explaining to Mulan that he's a dragon, not a lizard. He goes by telling her this. Hey, dragon, not lizard. I don't do that tongue thing. So, go be a little lizard if you want that tongue thing going for you. Because Mushu has distinctively separated the two, of the lizard to the dragon. So don't use dragon while you're doing that your tongue thing to your partner. You have to be a lizard. Ice Age, Dawn of the Dinosaurs, to be particular. Now, we all love those. It gives us a little bit of how extinction works, a little bit about the evolutionary process there. And now, the weasel, that little bit of a wacky tobacco weasel there, Buck, he says, let me tell you about the time I used a sharpened clamshell, to turn a T-Rex into a T-Rachel. So basically, he's talking about castration. Or what Morley has done now is having a sex change operation by force. Now, we all love The Emperor's Groove. Also a lovely Disney movie, but also a book, a children's story, a children's show. But for Disney, Krunk, the big guy, pitched a tent. Where did he pitch that tent? He pitched it right over his penis. Right over his genitals. So he pitched a tent. So you put two and two together. Now with Toy Story 2, Buzz Lightyear, he's having his own issues to begin with, thinking he's not a real space hero. But when he sees Cowgirl Jessie, he gets so excited, his wings pop up. Boing! So, he got a boner. Now on to Bambi, one of my all-time favorite Disney cartoons. Absolutely one of the greatest, and it is sad when Bambi's mommy dies. I think that is the second thing with Disney movies. Somewhere in this, someone's gotta die. Why? They're supposed to be children movies. There's so much violence in them. Not only, if there's violence is usually always coupled with sexual innuendos. Both Thumper and Flower. We all love Thumper and we all love Flower the skunk. They both become erect in that movie. When Thumper sees an attractive female rabbit, his entire body bolts upright and goes into a frenzy. Flower, on the other hand, turns stiff and red after being kissed by a female skunk. Can you say boner? Erection? Moving to the first Toy Story movie, and the little sadistic boy there who takes all the toys and melds them together to make other toys. The toy legs, it was made of Barbie's legs and a fishing rod, is apparently supposed to be a play on the word hooker. Get it? Fishing hook. Yeah, you probably didn't even think about that when you were watching Toy Story, and a lot of people love Toy Story, and it's a very popular movie, you know? Now Cinderella, one of probably our oldest Disney cartoon. We have the mice, cute little mice as they are, Jock and Gus, where they go and they're helping Cinderella with her dressmaking. So they steal a bunch of beads from like the sisters, and they don't want to be caught, obviously. So they throw the beads onto Gus's tail. Now that image of the face he makes while he's putting the beads onto his tail, I don't think I need to explain that one to you. Just watch it again. We're going back to Ratatouille. And with Linguini. Boy, he's full of them. After Linguini is caught, chatting to Remy in the pantry about Chef Skinner, he covers it up by saying he is familiarizing himself, quote unquote, with the vegetables and such. Then Skinner boots him out, shouting, "One can get too familiar with vegetables, you know." So, cucumber is usually synonymous with a penis. Come on, the radishes, balls, testicles, scrotum. We are back to Mrs. Potato Head. Oh my god, she is quite the little sexual diva. And now in Toy Story 3, they don't ever stop those innuendos. Villain Lotso. Oh, this is her lips again. Sorry about that. I guess they could not get over her lippage. This is these are cartoons we grew up on. They're out there. And you're probably just basically thinking, it's nothing. How cute is that? They're watching Disney cartoons. Someone calls up, you have a friend calls up, say, "Oh, what are you doing today? What are you and your son doing today? Or what are you and your kids doing today? Or your daughter, or whatever." And you just tell them, "Oh, they're watching the Disney cartoon. They're watching Frozen." They don't have any clue, but the reality, it is there. And we are now moving on to some seemingly innocent phrases that are actually incredibly dirty ones. Lovely. Now, obviously, we always love a very good joke, especially a sex joke. Now, a lot of these wordings or phrases have double meanings, obviously. So you want to think about this next time. Most of you are very well aware of what these double meaning phrases are. But if by chance you don't, look them up. Now you have that tea bag was actually better the second time around. What is the tea bag referring to? Ding dong, ding dong, Jeopardy! Obviously, the woman's vagina. So, 2 ways to look at it. 2 ways to decipher it. Another phrase would be, the landscapers are coming over today to trim the bush. Ladies, this one's for you. We're going to go trim our vagina area. Hair. So we got that razor and scissors. And we're going to trim that bush. Yes, my favorite animal is definitely the beaver. I don't think I need to explain that anymore. If everybody has seen Fatal Attraction with Sharon Stone, where she is in the police station and she turns in her chair, opening up her legs ever so slightly for all the males to see, and shows her beaver. And what is a beaver? It is a vagina, a slang word for vagina. Want a bone? Come on, get creative, people. Men, especially. A pearl necklace would really look nice on you. Pearl necklace, when a man comes all over the chest or his breast of his partner, and because the cum beads becomes little beads, it looks like a pearl necklace. I was just really surprised by how big his package was. Come on, ladies, what do we do when we are looking at men? Just like a man looking at a woman's breast or her behind, we are looking to see if we can figure out what is wrapped in that package. And if you have a man who's wearing baggy pants, you're not going to see it. So you're thinking just by looking at that man, that package is, you don't know. And then you're doing the down and dirty deed, and boing, there it is. It is very, very attractive and very, very big. I love sausage. Obviously. Sausage, men's penis. You gotta love it. It does some nice little things for us. I wonder what happens to nuts in space. And I'm assured when this was, stated, it meant literally a can of nuts in space. But the mere factor in the question is, what does happen to a man's testicles when in space? They're floating around. They get moved and self-massaged. Now, on that, I'm going to take a break. When we come back, we will finish out these double-meaning sex phrases, innocent as they may seem on the surface, and continue on with our sexual innuendos in cartoons or everyday life that we, don't see. These are the things that we are looking at every day of the week and not even happen to look at them. But we are going to take a break right now, and when I return, we will continue on with that. So, go replenish that drink, replenish that snack, come back, pull out your next Disney cartoon. You dirty little demon. And I will meet you back here for more Sex Talk with Andra.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Sex Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Andra, where the topic about sex is from the point of view of an older woman. Welcome back out there as we take innocence of cartoons and sexual innuendos and put them together. I hope you had a nice break, because we are going to continue on with our double meaning phrases when it comes to sex and how dirty our minds really are. And our next one is, we were only riding for maybe 5 seconds before we were desperate to get off. Come on. You work up to that orgasm, that point right there you're edging, and you can't hold it anymore. That foreplay has got you there. And it's got you, foreplay has gotten you so excited and so hard and so wet that the minute you are in getting sexual penetration, you can't hold on to it and you just burst. Very simple phrase. And this is what I took away from it. We were banging all night. Refers to playing music, by the way, drums. But our sick, twisted minds, it means going to town and sex. And just having sex all night long. In an instant, she was dripping wet. I mean, it was seemingly an innocent statement or phrase, but really refers to getting that woman so she's so horny, and just by touching her, boink, she's wet. She wants you. So, hey, it happens. Ever since she showed him what to do, he just loves tossing salad. Now, we consider tossing salad, obviously, as tossing in the bed sexually, as I add, because I could stop right there and just say we were just tossing in the bed. But no, you know it's got to mean something sexual. I'm talking about it. I was expecting maybe 4 inches, but he gave me more like 12. So, looks can be deceiving, man. He may come out really tiny, but when you wake him up and he is standing erect, it's hidden. And we got a lot more inch down there. That penis is just a boing. I was my fault. Although that particular message actually refers to a sub, like as in sandwich sub. But then again, overall, if you actually think about that, the length of this sub, the sandwich. You can get it 6 inches, 12 inches, or politely put, a foot long. So either way, that I don't think that has a double meaning. I just mean it means what it means and how we take it. So I don't know why they would believe that that would have a double meaning when it actually just is straight as forward as anything. The power of thrust was really remarkable, referring to the taking off of the space shuttles. But our dirty little minds is the thrust as he, penetrates and back and forth in her vagina with his hard penis. Back and forth, and it was just remarkable. He really needs to work on his ball handling. Come on, work those testicles, work those scrotum, men, because we want that best orgasm possible and we want to watch it shoot. So they need a little bit of attention too. Remember that. I tried everything, but he just kept slipping out. A lot of men don't want to admit this, but if you're going to town or you're just not that big, and you're trying to go back, in and out and thrusting, you are going to continually fall out. Or you can look at it this way. Your woman is so wet, it is slippery. And you can't keep them in. You're trying to keep emotion, going there. But hey, it is what it is. I'm sure he's tired. He spent all day on his knees. Now this can be taken two ways for both sexes. You can have the man performing oral sex on a woman while he's on his knees and she is standing, or she could be laying down and he's on his knees just to get that right level. Or she's up on top of the table at the edge of the bed. Or for the same sex couples, and you get your groove on just as well, the man giving another man a blow job, his partner a blow job. Hey, it is there. Go for it. Enjoy yourself. I was surprised by the sheer power of the semen. Okay. This is in reference to the Popeye cartoon. And when he says seaman, he means actually the sea in men. But in our dirty little dictionary of things, we're talking about semen that is ejaculated out of the man's penis, and how it just comes powerfully streaming out when let loose and he lets his load go. She took his head in her hands and stroked it. Obviously, we are talking about putting your hands on his head, his bald head, on the top of his body, and rubbing it. But sexually, we are straight out thinking about stroking your penis, men, because your head of the penis is one of the sensitive parts of your penis, and we need to stroke it and continue to stroke it to get you off. He tried everything but just couldn't get in. Okay. We can put 3 meanings with this particular phrase, sexually. Well, there is the meaning there. I couldn't get into a regular door or to where he needed to go. Or he could mean couldn't get in, that he couldn't get hard enough to penetrate the vagina or the anal cavity, the anus. So, very, very different ways of looking at that one. And moving right along, they're constantly involved in one intercourse or another. It's difficult to separate them for any length of time. Come on. You're having sex and you can't get enough of it. You're always at it. People come over, try to do something with you, whatever, see if you want to go out, and you're at it again. Very hard to separate. So get your groove on in the bedroom. That's what it is all about. Did you try blowing? I don't think I need to explain that one to anybody. But for those of you who still does not know what that means, blowing equals blowjob. Simple. Simple, 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 simple. I mean, come on. I mean, there are so many innuendos out there that really, it could be anything you can think of. We say these things every day in our daily living. And we probably, and it's funny because when we say these things, in our mind, we're not actually thinking this. But when it comes out and after we think about what we have said is when we realize it, how that is being interpreted. So, yeah. I mean, unfortunately, it does happen to the best of us, but catching yourselves sometimes is a good thing, and sometimes you might just want to let it ride because that person that you said it to probably caught onto it as well, and they are quite happy with that result. So you might just get laid tonight. Who is to say? Now, we are going to continue on with our sexual innuendos. But we're going to do it in a different way now. And then we'll get back to regular innuendos. But, you know, a lot of us want to go and travel the world. Obviously, when we do that, even with our big melting pot here in America, because we have different cultures, different sayings have different meanings. And we are going to go through it. And these are sexual, you know? So, it's a little sexual, and they are sexual innuendos, so we can continue. So, we are going to move into different, you know, translating like a different meaning from somewhere else into what it really actually means. There are idiomatic translations that have sexual meanings, and these are phrases. So let's get on with our translation of our sexual innuendos, or phrases that mean one thing in one country but mean something different in our country. And we're going to start out with bashing the bishop. Now, this language and this phrase comes from British English. And translation of bashing the bishop, I don't think really I need to explain it, but I think a lot of you, just for the heck of it and the giggles of it all, is translation in English to masturbation. Obviously, if you're in the UK and you overhear someone saying that, or you hear someone saying that, they are not talking about a clergyman and insulting that person. They are talking about going home and masturbating, or if they've already done it, they're probably talking about how and what they used while doing so. So remember that. To put the cake in the oven. Now, the language is Spanish, and I'm probably going to kill this because I do not speak Spanish, or at least not good Spanish. But ponía la tarta en el horno. And I probably butchered that, so please do not yell at me. But when translated, it is meaning of sexual intercourse. And it's really how incredibly easy it is to just put it in different words and code words for you and your mate. And baking can be incredibly, fulfilling because we all love to bake, but the phrase equates to the act of inserting a pan full of cake batter into a hot oven, obviously, but we actually want that hot, throbbing penis inside of our oven, the vagina, ladies. On that note, we are going to take the last break in the show. So when I return, we will continue with our talk for sexual innuendos and these phrases and how they translate from one country to another. So, completely up to you if you want to go get another drink, because you may need it if you have finished masturbating or whatever it was you were doing when you're listening. So go get that drink, go get a new snack, or don't do anything and stay right there, because I'm going to meet you back here for more Sex Talk with Andra.
Are you tired of the same old news? Are you sick of the seemingly endless political spin and negativity? The GSMC America's Still Beautiful podcast is a weekly news podcast covering all the top positive and uplifting news stories. We cover stories that will inspire, uplift, and remind you of the good in the world. Tune into the Golden State Media Concepts America's Still Beautiful podcast to get all the great and positive news stories of today. Download the GSMC America's Still Beautiful podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Sex Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Andra, where the topic about sex is from the point of view of an older woman. Welcome back to the final segment in the show, where our topic has been sexual innuendos in our favorite cartoons, Disney, and other things. And talking about, we're going over a few translations from other countries to you, which what means one thing for one culture means something different for us. And then we're going to end out with some other cartoons, like some on the Nickelodeon network, that also have sexual innuendos underlining in them, which I believe are a little bit more obvious. But you can make that choice and decipher it for yourself. So let's get this party started. And the next idiom or sexual innuendo is Swedish. Now, it is to park the bus, and in Swedish, it's parkera bussen. Now, obviously, meaning sexual intercourse. Ride the flagpole. Now, we have all heard this one. This one is kind of sort of we got what that means. Okay? It is American English. It's ours. Obviously, other people must think we're a little bit woohoo. But to ride the flagpole basically translate out into heterosexual sexual intercourse. Go ride that penis, girls. Work has been completed. Hindi. Kam ho gaya. Probably killing that, but I'm trying my best. Which means sexual intercourse, referring to past tense only. So, you have finished with your sexual intercourse. So, put a check mark on that one. Australian English. Translation is rooting, which also means sexual intercourse. Hey, we got to put some roots down somewhere. Come on. Netflix and chill, which is British / American English, which also means sexual intercourse. Some of these are kind of obvious because we use them now. To blow air with the bellows. This is Spanish. Follar. Follar. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Also meaning sexual intercourse. To scrub one's carrot. I don't think I need to translate that one for you, but it is German. And it is die Mohre. M-O double dot accent H-R-E Schraubun, and which means, come on, if you're scrubbing one's carrot, it is masturbating. Dun, 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 dun. Bumping uglies. We know what that means. I don't have to explain that one. Doesn't matter what language it is in. We all know what bumping ugly means. And it is used a lot in movies. So, to sweep is Italian. A scopare. And this is sexual intercourse in all different languages. To pet one's monkey. I don't think I got to tell you what that one means. But Russian is Lysogo v. Kulate Ganyat. Seriously killing these beautiful languages. Trust me, I know. It means, we even say to pet one's monkey, which is masturbation. Playing pocketpool. We all know what that is, obviously. Again, masturbation. Portuguese is jogar bilhar de balso. I'm probably saying that all wrong. Please forgive me. I was asking ahead of time. But when you guys say it, it is absolutely just heart-melting. Let me tell you that much. To plow the land. Come on. Albanian. Puno tokene. Now, we know that sex is sex in all different languages, but having different ways of saying them is what it is, and that's what the allure of is to it. Knowing that in every language, it, even with translation, comes out to mean the same thing, but having that, I don't know how you want to say it, that foreign allure added to it makes it that much more sexier. So just dating. Now, as promised, I'm going to move on to a few Nickelodeon cartoons and then some hidden in like Hanna-Barbera. Ooh, how's that sound? We all know that cartoons come up with something. Now, in Doug, and I actually forgot the name of this cartoon, but his name is Doug, and he's talking to his friend, who's the girl, blonde, and he comes up with, there's this subtle oral sex innuendo written on the paper that he's reading, and it says, "I love head." So go back and watch Doug. And it is just Doug, actually, because that's the name of the cartoon, Doug. That's one of my favorites, too. We are still in the cartoon Doug. In the time Roger didn't know about the birds and the bees. After his cat gave birth to a litter. Well, how was I supposed to know? Son, you're way past due for a very important talk. Mom does the talk. Now, Doug, we're back to Doug, and he says, nut suckers, and he's playing a video game. So, mop up 12 or 13 nut suckers, boom, a boom, boom. I don't think I have to translate that one. When Doug's love for Patty, that's the little blonde Patty. I haven't seen the cartoon in like forever. They need to put some of the old cartoons back on. When Doug's love for Patty made lava gush. Well, the reason the lava keeps shooting up in the air is because I love you. Huh? And Judy, who's also in the cartoon Doug, the time that Judy knew gay handkerchief code. No, stick with the handkerchief, but not on the left. Now that innuendo goes back to the 70s, where it was if someone wore, especially a man, wore an earring in his left ear, it was a telltale sign that he was homosexual. Nowadays, we don't even look at that anymore. Please, man, you wear earrings and shit better than we do. And I have to give you props for that one. So keep it up. That's what you like. Now we are with Norb. And the time Norb's dad told him that he used to hear him slapping his tail in the bathtub all the time. And he replies, "I was just washing my tail, I swear." That's what he would like you to believe. So, now we're on to Warner Brothers with Daffy and Bugs in Tiny Toon Adventures. And this is the time when Daffy was looking at a nudie magazine. Obviously, it's called Play Duck instead of Playboy. We are with the Rugrats when Grandpa Lou rented a movie for the kids and one for himself. And my personal favorite, Lonely Space Vixen. That's for after you go to bed. Hey, Grandpa's got to get his groove on too somehow. You know, he is human. Well, cartoon human. Little Rugrats, we're going to have a couple out of those. So, when Stu made this gesture while explaining that Phil and Lil's dad had gone male bonding, and he puts two fingers together. When Grandpa Boris got fed up with watching Stu's boring home videos, what does he do? He gets on the phone. "Hello, Dr. Kevorkian. When it looked like Tommy was doing something graphic while looking for a screwdriver in his pamper. Now, we all know, if we have watched the Rugrats, and we probably all have, he has a habit of having his hands in his diaper very often. So it can't just be for looking for a screwdriver now, can it? When Lil got naked in front of Tommy and he suddenly had questions. Lil, can I ask you a question? Why you got in? He asked, we got naughty. You know, come on. Put a little bit of imagination behind that one. When Lil rummaged through her dad's desk drawer looking for a calculator. But of course, there was a Playboy magazine in there instead. The Rugrat, this is in the Rugrats episode, titled Cradle Attraction. You know, obviously paradoxed off of the Fatal Attraction movie with Glenn Close. And it featured a problematic relationship between Chucky and a little girl named Megan, where she's basically on top of him. Hey, Megan knows what she wants. Now, hey Arnold! There's a few little sexual innuendos out of there. And we know Helga had the hearts and the wets for Arnold. So, obviously we are looking at Helga. And when Helga talked about how Arnold makes her girlhood feel. We all know what our girlhood is. Arnold, you make my girlhood tremble. My senses all go wacky. She gets wet a lot then. Another time in Hey Arnold is when, or all the time that Helga's mom was drunk, slurring her words, making smoothies, quote unquote fingers, falling asleep all over the place, and even doing community service. Come on. DUI? How about that time in Rugrats when Grandpa Phil told, in Hey Arnold, the time that Grandpa Phil told Arnold he did drugs back in the day. No, not since Woodstock. When Peter appeared to be eating Joy's rear end, buttocks. On Hey Arnold, they're looking through the window at them. The time Arnold blushed at the thought of a threesome. You wanna come too? I'm sure that it's love too. That is, if Arnold doesn't mind making it a threesome. No, it's okay. We can all go together. That Arnold is such a stud. Now, Arnold's talking to his friend, and he says, there's a sign right behind him that says, try my sausage. And, a little creepy, especially in there. But, it is not just Disney cartoons that have these lovely little sexual innuendos in them. It's just catching them, and most of us do. There are cartoons across the makers that all have sexual innuendos. We're watching these with our kids. The adults have got to get something out of it. So remember that the next time you sit your children down in front of your favorite Disney cartoon or your favorite Nickelodeon cartoon, or Warner Brothers, or Hanna-Barbera. You know, it is there. They are all there. They are kids. And the way that these syndicates relate to us as adults and pull us in are by these little sexual innuendos. However, when you are ready to give your child that talk, you might want to let them find those out for themselves. I'm sure they'll come when they're older and say, "You never told me about this." Hey. But on that note, I am at the end of my show for now. And with that, as always, please practice safe sex in whatever language it comes in, and whatever under sexual innuendo tone it comes in. If not for yourself or your partner, and vice versa. Also, I'd like to thank you again for this. Please do, if you're going to try anything new, sexual. Because when it comes to this, you need to educate, communicate, and consent. So thank you for hearing my word. So thank you for tuning in to the GSMC Sex Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. As always, I would also love to ask you to please subscribe to the show. Give us 5 stars and an awesome review. It not only helps me to know that what I give you is what you want, sexual innuendo in there, but it does help GSMC Podcast Network to know what the listeners love hearing. Please do seek us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Like us, click that little thumbs up or that little heart, and leave us a review there, or please put in there what you would love to hear on the show. So again, thank you very much for tuning in, and please have an awesome sex night or day, depending on where you are in the world. Bye-bye until next time with Sex Talk with Andra.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sex Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcasts on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type in GSMC to find all of our shows from the GSMC Podcast Network. From sex and relationships to health and wellness, life and happiness, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's episode of the Golden State Media Concepts Sex Podcast.